The enthusiasty hot hatch is quite a rare but special breed. It really started with the first generation Volkswagen Golf GTI, and now later on it's manifested itself in a bunch of different ways. There are some manufacturers that decide that all-wheel drive in a sort of rally-inspired hot hatch is the way to go, and then there are some that just go after the tuner crowd. The latter being Honda and their Civic Type R, which is a 300 horsepower front-wheel drive monster that any 16-year-old boy would love to take to Cars and Coffee and impress all of the ladies that are there. And then the former, the all-wheel drive rally-inspired thing, was really pioneered by Subaru with the Impreza WRX STI. But Subaru in recent years has really lost the ball, and they've completely screwed up on the WRX. The most recent STI, a car that I have filmed on my channel, link should be up there I believe, is cool, all-wheel drive, 300 horsepower, but I drove that car and it just wasn't exciting enough for me. That car was one of the biggest disappointments of last year. Yes, it was a decent to drive car, and a Subaru with a big wing is always cool, but it just, something about it didn't ignite the passion in me. And it seems like it hasn't ignited the passion in a lot of people, because Toyota finally decided that they would come in and show Subaru what a real hot hatch can do. Enter the GR Corolla, which was Toyota's apology for not giving us the GR Yaris, which was the actual rally homologation special all-wheel drive 300 horsepower Yaris that they didn't sell here because we don't get the Yaris anymore. The GR Corolla was Toyota's apology to the American people. It houses the exact same 3-cylinder engine, rides on the exact same all-wheel drive system, and has performance that is quite equivalent to that Yaris. It's not as crazy looking as the Yaris, but with these flared fenders, carbon roof, and hood vents right here, it definitely looks the part from your standard regular Corolla hatchback. And like I said, in terms of performance, it drives the part too. Underneath the hood here is a 1.6 liter turbocharged 3-cylinder engine that develops 185 horsepower per liter, which is pretty ridiculous, to develop a total of 300 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque. Power is delivered to all 4 wheels via a 6-speed manual transmission, or for 2025, if you're a loser, you can spend $2,000 more for the automatic, but the only excuse for that is if you have just one leg. There have been 3 distinct trim levels of the GR Corolla. The Start is the core model, which is a little bit toned down in terms of its design. It has a regular roof, no hood vents. It looks to any normal casual person kind of like a regular base model Corolla if you ignore the obviously flared fenders. Step up to this one, the Circuit, and you get some cosmetic upgrades like the hood vents, like the carbon roof, a larger rear spoiler, forged wheels, and an upgraded interior, apparently. And then the top level one was a low production model called the Morizo Edition, which was a 2-seater only, had sticky track tires, and some roll cage stuff in the back. So this is the mid-level Toyota GR Corolla Circuit Edition. And while we have it here, let's take a review type tour of it. Around the back of the GR Corolla, this is where it's easiest to distinguish this car from a standard Corolla hatchback. Take the obviously flared boxy rear wheel arches that are combined with the front flared wheel arches and vents to make the GR Corolla a bit wider than the standard Corolla to fit wider tires, because a regular Corolla is for 95-year-old Grandpa Johnny to drive from his retirement community to the grocery store and then to bingo and back, whereas this is a car that nobody is going to take on the rally stage, but it's supposed to look like somebody can take it on the rally stage. Obviously, it's a performance car, so it's going to have flared wheel arches to have wider tires. Another thing is this large rear spoiler up here, which again is bespoke to the Circuit. The regular GR Corolla Core model has a more regular, less show-offy rear spoiler. Still has one, but it's a bit harder to tell. This rear spoiler is quite distinctive, and obviously if none of these clues have helped you out to realize that this is a GR Corolla, you can just look at the GR Corolla badge on the tailgate there, or more interesting is the fact that it has 3 exhaust tips. 3. 1 exhaust tip for each cylinder apparently. And I guess they did 3 because if they did 4, people would mock them. And that's understandable. But you've got two regular circular shaped ones on the ends, and then the middle, they just kind of tacked on a square shaped one, which I've always thought was a bit of a weird look. Distinctive and interesting, but a bit of a weird look. Again, 3 exhaust tips back here, which I find kind of funny, but in a car that makes almost 200 horsepower per liter and 300 horsepower from a 1.6 3-cylinder, I think it's reasonable to have 1 exhaust tip per cylinder, don't you? All right, let's talk about something that nobody cares about, practicality, but it is something that is important on a hot hatchback like the GR Corolla. You look inside and you see just mostly a basic rear cargo area back here. It's nice and wide, not super deep, but it's kind of tall because, again, it's a hatchback, mostly just a regular Corolla rear trunk area here, except for the fact that you have GR Corolla floor mats in there, which is interesting and not something that I would have expected to see. But I'm sure if you have a regular CVT Corolla hatchback and you're trying to fool people into thinking that you have a GR, you can get those floor mats off of eBay, and you can get a GR badge off of eBay as well. And I'm sure you'll be putting a bunch of other Amazon.China or AutoZone bits around your fake GR Corolla to make it look more legit. But this is the legit one, and I'm babbling, so let's hop inside and see what the rear seat space is like. Let's check the back seat room. Now, I'm not expecting much here. I'm 6'3". I'm tall. This driver's seat is moved pretty much all the way back, so it's in my driving position. We're getting in a Corolla hatchback, so yeah, there's not a lot of room for me at all back here. My head's touching. I got a little bit of foot room so I can move them up and down slightly, but my knees are digging so far into the back of the front seat that I bet the driver would hate me if I was back here. And in terms of amenities and comfort back here, there's not that much to talk about. You have this plastic door panel. Again, it's a Corolla, so it's got to have some cost awareness back here. So we've got a plastic door panel which has a cup holder in it. That's pretty much it. There's a cup holder, which is nice to see, adds to the comfort a little bit back here. You can have drinks. That's nice. That's literally all there is to talk about there. And these seats are the exact same material as they are up front, which is really nice. You've got leather with blue stitching in it, and you've got this Alcantara seat center as well, which looks nice. It's reasonably comfortable. And it's nice to see that back here, mostly the level of quality and niceness of the materials is pretty equivalent to what you have up front. There's a bit less stitching on the doors back here and a bit more plastic, but what can you expect again for a Corolla? The whole point of this car is that it's affordable speed. But you have 2 more cup holders here in this fold down center armrest, which I wouldn't have expected to see in the back of a Corolla. 4 cup holders and a fold down armrest that is also leather and stitched and pretty nice. So yeah, it's about what I expected back here. It's tight, it's not the nicest, but with what I'm seeing, I'm pretty happy, and people that are regular size, especially kids back here, will be completely fine. No complaints at all. But the thing is there's nothing to talk about back here, so let's move up front. This is where you'll want to be sitting if you're driving an enthusiast hot hatchback like a GR Corolla. So I sit down, and there's obviously quite a lot of Corolla hatchback in here. You have the same door panel, same dashboard, same infotainment, same automatic climate control, which isn't buried in a submenu, which is really nice to see. This infotainment is Toyota's basic regular infotainment system. It's good, it's pretty easy to use. It doesn't have a whole lot of features, but it does have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which is wireless, and having that in here really defeats the whole purpose of talking about infotainment. This Toyota infotainment covers the basics. It's everything that you could ask for and need, and there's no overbearing, stupid, gimmicky features. As an infotainment system, this is pretty easy to use, and I can't imagine anybody in a GR Corolla would either, 1, care about the infotainment, or 2, complain about this one. So it's nice to see. Moving down from that, you have heated seats for the front passengers, which is nice to see in a Corolla, and a wireless charger, which it's sunken down a little bit, so it should be holding your phones in place and charging them while you're driving them along, which is pretty great. Moving back from that is where we start to get into the fun, interesting GR Corolla type stuff. So what I have here is a drive mode selector. My drive modes are Eco, okay, Normal, Sport, and Custom, which is a configurable drive mode, obviously. But there are more things to configure that we're going to talk about here in a second. I also have a traction control off button, one button, and it should just turn the traction control off, which is what you want in a car like this. And then moving back from that, you have a 6-speed manual transmission, which in a rally-inspired enthusiast hot hatch is what you need. You want to be able to control that buzzy little 3-cylinder under the hood and all of its 300 horsepower with the control of 3 pedals and a 6-speed manual transmission. And as a manual, it's good. The shifts feel nice and notchy, exactly what you'd expect from a Toyota. The clutch is pretty easy to use. Takes a bit of getting used to, especially with gear changes, but the clutch is fine. And again, like I said, it's nice to have a manual here, and it has a little bit of GR influence to it. It's got some blue stitching like what you see in the rest of the interior, and a little GR logo on top. And the background of the shift layout is designed to look like the same carbon that's lining the roof, which is a fun little tidbit there. Moving back from that is where you have the selector to configure the GR4 all-wheel drive system. So what you can do is set how much power is going to the front or the rear wheels, sort of. It's not completely configurable, but it's pretty close. So the default setting is that it's sending 60% of the power to the front wheels and only 40% to the rear wheels. But if you're on a gravel rally stage and you want to get a bit of tail out action, which I'm sure no GR Corolla owner has done yet, you can switch this dial over to the right, and that sends 30% of the power to the front wheels and 70% to the back wheels. So that's meant to mimic a bit of a more rear wheel drive feel to it. So you'll be getting pushed out of turns rather than pulled out of turns. There'll be less torque steer, less of all that front wheel drive stuff. And if you want, you have a track mode button, which I believe it's a bit more 50-50, but I'm gonna put it down at the bottom of the screen because I'm probably wrong. I should have researched that, I apologize, but you have a push button for track mode, which is pretty sweet. What is also pretty sweet is you have a traditional manual parking brake. Press the button to release it, you pull it up, it's a parking brake, exactly what you should have in a car like this, just a regular parking brake, manual, just like how the transmission should be. That's nice because a lot of cars, even enthusiast cars, have electronic parking brakes, but not the GR Corolla. And then back here, I'm pretty sure this is an aftermarket center console lid because it's crappy, it's cheap, and the thing that's really giving it away is the leather's different and it's red stitching as opposed to the blue stitching. I don't know why this was put in, but I hope the previous owner of this car didn't spend that much money on this because it is a total pile of crap. I'm not gonna talk about it anymore. Right in front of me, I have a 3-spoke GR badged steering wheel, which has some controls for audio on the left and control on the right for what looks like adaptive cruise control, which in a manual transmission car is pretty neat to see, and that adds to the comfort and usability of this car. Looking up from that, you have a fully digital gauge cluster that is kind of configurable. It's not amazing, but you can change a couple things on it. You can change what's shown in the center, like warning messages or your adaptive cruise mode. Again, adaptive cruise controls on this car. And on the left, you can change things like showing your gauges, showing your tire pressure, showing your average MPG, which if you'd want to know that. This car, despite having a 3-cylinder, gets between 21 and 28 MPG, which for a 3-cylinder isn't great, to be honest. You can show your turbo boost gauge, and you can have a G meter as well. And then on the right side, I have another set of gauges. Again, my adaptive cruise mode is here. I've got a compass. I have a little screen that shows you the song you're listening to, your trip information, your drive information, how much power is going to the front and rear wheels at any given moment, and a G meter. So in terms of an enthusiasty hot hatchback like this car, you have pretty much everything that you could ask for. But in terms of somebody who wants a more configurable gauge cluster with a full screen map or whatever, you'll be pretty disappointed. But honestly, I don't think that really matters. What really matters in a GR Corolla is how it feels to drive. So let's get it out on the road and see what it's like. I've been waiting to drive a GR Corolla ever since it came out. Every time an automaker drops an enthusiast special car with a manual transmission and some crazy power figure, again, 185 horsepower per liter in this car, it's hard to not get excited. Everyone was really bummed out when Toyota dropped the GR Yaris everywhere but America. They didn't forget about us. Luckily, they gave us the GR Corolla. And again, it completely blows the Subaru WRX out of the water. Here we are on our favorite bit of road here. Let's open it up. When it comes to power and acceleration, it's a little bit disappointing. I would have expected a 300 horsepower Corolla to be a little bit more exciting when I open it up. But again, 300 horsepower isn't the most amount of power ever, but I have had far more fun with cars with less power than this. But that's not to say that this is bad. It's still much more engaging and better in pretty much every way than the WRX STI that I drove, which also had about 300 horsepower. But where that car did it wrong was the sound wasn't good, the driving position wasn't good. I just felt like I was driving a Crosstrek, and just the fact that the WRX came onto the scene in 2002 as some really cool high-performance enthusiast car special, and it barely improved from that. It's like when you're an honor student and you're the president of the student body government at your high school, a prestigious private school. You're going places, you got straight A's, and then you go into college and get a weak degree that gets you no jobs, and you end up working at Subway for the rest of your life. That's really how the WRX aged. It started out great. It was awesome in the early 2000s. Really great car. I know I used to own one. And then lately, the WRX has just been a total disappointment, and I think it was perfect timing for Toyota to bring us their take on the WRX. And if you're a WRX owner or a WRX fanboy, you will be right at home in this car. When it comes to the engine and the power delivery and just the feel of it, it's, again, a 3-cylinder, and it feels like a 3-cylinder. It's got this raspiness to it. It sounds and feels like it's fueled by angry bees, and in a car that's supposed to be engaging and zippy and fun, that's a pretty good thing, I would say. It's a 3-cylinder in all of the good ways, but none of the bad. When it comes to roughness that 3-cylinders can have, it's not bad. It's very smooth. I don't know what they did to balance this engine, but they did a very good job. It's really smooth. When you're not getting on it, it feels honestly like a 4-cylinder. When you open it up, it sounds like a 3-cylinder, but odd number cylinder cars always sound good in my opinion. It's a great sound, and it's got that turbo lag and turbo surge that WRX owners love about their cars, I think anyway. So if you're a WRX owner, again, you'll be pretty happy with the way this car drives, I have to say. And it's also, again, it's all-wheel drive, like what you'd want from something with 300 horsepower. It's got this satisfying turbo surge that comes on every time you pull it in every single gear, which again is pretty adjacent to the WRX. But unlike the WRX, it's cooler, it's more limited production, it's less ugly, it's got a better driving position, it's got a better quality interior. It just blows the WRX completely out of the water. It does everything the WRX does well, and it does everything well that the WRX falls short on. But how do I like it? I don't know. I do really like this manual transmission. It's nice and engaging, like what you'd expect. I like this 3-cylinder sound. I wish it was a little bit louder. And I like the fact that it's all this power and it's pretty usable. There's something about it that just doesn't feel super special to me. Maybe I want something more out of the cars that I drive. Maybe this isn't my type of car. But I don't know, I wanted it to feel a little bit faster. I wanted it to sound a little bit louder. I wanted it to be just a little bit more special feeling. Because the GR Corolla was touted as this low production, high performance, rally inspired, super cool, enthusiasty Toyota. And I think I expected a little bit too much from it on that front. That's not to say this is a bad car. I'm not saying it's a bad car. I think I was just expecting more from it. When it comes to just every part of the driving experience, it sort of just feels like an older WRX. I mean, if I were in the market for an enthusiast-y car with a manual transmission from Japan, I'd probably just settle on a older WRX because it's got all the same type of things that I want out of the way it drives, but it's also a $6,000 used car, whereas this is a lot more expensive. I thought it'd be a little bit more fun and engaging and special feeling than this. Again, not that it doesn't feel special. It's still a great car to drive. As a Corolla, this is the most fun Corolla that's ever existed ever. It's still got a good amount of kick to it. It's still got a very satisfying turbo surge. It's a great car to drive. It is very fun to drive. I just wanted it to be a little bit more than what it's offering me. That's gonna do it for me. Again, this is an amazing car, and the people that are gonna drive it, I'm sure, absolutely love it. I just think I was expecting a little bit more out of this GR Corolla. I think I just built the internal hype up a little bit too much. I was expecting it to be a bit more special, a bit faster, a bit better in every way, so I'm a little bit disappointed. But I wouldn't take it from me because it seems like everyone else likes this car, so I don't know, I'm just finding it a little bit disappointing. So yeah, with that being said, that's going to do it for me, everybody. Like, subscribe, do all the normal YouTube stuff, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.